trail at goHUNT. Once again, application season is upon us. This year we're trying to do some videos where we run through some of the most commonly asked questions for the different states that you could apply for. And today the one that we are talking about is Arizona. So some of the common questions we get about Arizona, and specifically elk and pronghorn, which is the first application to come up, typically due in mid-February. They break their applications into different sections. So you have elk and pronghorn, or antelope is the first one. Later on in the season, you can apply for bighorn sheep and deer, and then some of the other species. So some of the most commonly asked questions we get, surprisingly, is just how to apply. So it's actually pretty easy to apply in Arizona. You're just simply going to set up an account with their Game and Fish website. They're going to give you a number, so it's basically like a hunter ID number that you'll need to sign in and apply in Arizona. So the first bullet point on how to apply I have here is hunting licenses, which is probably one of the most common questions we get is, do I have to buy a hunting license to then apply for the different species in Arizona? And you do have to buy a hunting license. So that hunting license for a non-resident is $160. It is non-refundable. You have to buy it to then apply for the different species. Another common question that I get asked a lot is my hunting license active for 365 days from the day that I purchase it? And can I, in essence, apply for 2 different years on the same hunting license, like you can in Utah? You cannot do that. You cannot apply 2 years on the same hunting license. Your license has to be valid on the last day of the application period. And the way that they have those periods set up, it would yield itself as not available. So you actually cannot apply for 2 years on the same hunting license. You have to buy one every year in order to apply, so be aware of that. The next section here I have is the draw system. We get asked a lot of questions about Arizona's draw system. And there's some complexities that I could get into, and maybe I will in another video, but to keep this at a more 30,000 foot view, if you will, I'm just going to touch on kind of the basics. So if you're just looking to apply in Arizona for the first time, or maybe you're relatively new to applying in Arizona, I'm just going to try to touch on those types of questions. So bonus points. So Arizona is a bonus point state, meaning they have bonus points. So if you apply for a draw, you're unsuccessful, you're going to get a bonus point for that species. They also have a couple of cool features that go along with bonus points that I wanted to touch on. One of them is what they call loyalty points. So if you apply for 5 consecutive years for any species, they're going to give you an extra point, and that's a permanent point as long as you continue to apply, and that's called a loyalty point. So that's a cool opportunity. So it's an encouragement to keep applying in Arizona. Another point that you can gain in Arizona is a hunter's education point. So if you can travel to Arizona and take their course, they'll actually give you a permanent bonus point for every species. So if you've applied for 5 consecutive years and you got your hunter's ed point, you're up 2 points, and that's a pretty cool opportunity for Arizona. So their draw system, it's a bonus point system where they're actually going to give a portion of the permits to the people with the most points. And then the other are going to be randomly allocated with the number of points that you have, giving you statistically better odds of drawing a random permit. So it's a bonus point state, be aware of that. And like I said, a couple of cool opportunities to pick up a couple extra points if you have the opportunity to do so. What is the deal with passes? That's a pretty commonly asked question. Like, what are these passes in the draw system in Arizona? Essentially passes, if you will, they're just phases of the draw. So you have a bonus pass, and then you have a random pass. So the first pass is going to be your bonus point pass, where they're going to allocate the permits to the people with the most points. The second pass, if you will, the subsequent pass is going to be the random pass, where they're going to allocate random permits that are available to the different people. So those are your passes. You basically have a bonus point pass and a random pass. So that's a kind of a clarification on some passes. Hunt choices. So you do get a first and a second choice. And in Arizona, they're going to check both your first and second choices before moving to the next application. So you could draw your first choice. You could draw your second choice. You do want to include 1 and 2 choices on your application, because like I said, you could draw either of those. You want to kind of have some strategy involved in what your first and your second choices are. I would say, if you're looking at the odds and you're close to these bonus point permits, try to put a first choice that's kind of on that brink. You're right there. You may not draw it. And then your second choice, you want to pick a hunt that fits kind of within this bonus point level. So, the odds are, better, if you will, of drawing. And it's a hunt that you would still like to go on. If you don't have enough points to really be considered in this bonus point pass, sometimes it helps to swing for the fences with your first choice, and maybe the second choice, pick a hunt that has better odds in the random pass that you would still like to go on. What about a third choice? You can include a third choice if you'd like to. Essentially, if you include a third choice, you're looking at leftover permits. If you include a third choice and you draw one, you will burn your points. So we would encourage you to probably not include a third choice unless you are just purely looking for an opportunity to go hunting in Arizona. So Arizona has their hunts listed by code. So when you apply, you want to be aware of the code. You also want to make sure it correlates to the hunt when you put in your application. You don't want to apply for a hunt accidentally that you may not want to draw. I knew a guy that applied for a cow elk tag as his first choice with a bunch of points, didn't buy the point guard, which I'm going to talk about, and actually burned all of his Arizona points on a cow elk tag. I think he had like 15 or 16. So be aware of the hunt codes. Make sure that you are applying for the hunts that you actually want to go on. Be aware of hunt codes. The last thing I have here is this point guard. This is a relatively new feature for Arizona Game and Fish in the last few years. Essentially what this is it's a safety net for your points. So for $5 per application, you can buy this point guard, and if you draw a permit that you necessarily don't want to go on, you can actually turn that permit back in and get your points reinstated. You can do that one time per species. So you want to be aware of that, but I would definitely encourage you, buy the $5 point guard, which, like I said, is basically insurance for your application and your points. You never know what might happen. You may not be able to go on a hunt. You may decide you may have messed up and draw a hunt that you didn't want to go on really. You could use this point guard to get your points back. So I would encourage you to buy that $5 point guard. So those are some of the most common questions that we get in Arizona. I may do another one, like I said, and kind of break down the passes and the percentages. It's a little bit more in depth. This is kind of a 30,000 foot view for most people that are just getting involved in applying in Arizona. We often get asked, will I ever draw a pronghorn tag or an elk tag in Arizona? Chances of drawing a pronghorn tag are pretty dang slim. They're actually harder than elk tags, if you can believe that. For me, I think it makes sense as long as you're going to apply for one species in Arizona, you might as well apply for them all because you do have to buy that hunting license. Elk tags. It's tough to draw an elk tag, but there are some late season hunts. There is a random component to the draw. Personally, I really feel like Arizona is a great state to apply for in elk. I think it's a justified $160 cost plus the application fees. I think it is justified. I think there's some phenomenal hunting if you do draw a tag. And like I said, if you're gonna buy the hunting license, you might as well apply for pronghorn, bighorn sheep, deer, any other species that you can apply for in Arizona. So, like I said, Arizona coming up, typically the second week in February for elk and pronghorn. Dig into your insider account, look at the odds, look at the different costs, do the research, and plan on applying for Arizona in 2021.